today's plugin battle, we've got FabFilter Pro R2, the successor to the industry standard Pro R Reverb plugin, pitted up against Cableguys' very own Reverbshaper for Shaperbox 3, which is really pushing the boundaries on what you can do with reverb. Today we'll be diving into both plugins here and putting them to the test to see which one is the best option for you. So, let's get started. And for today's test, we look at this track right here that I made earlier today. I made it in a hurry, it's not really mixed all that much here, my drums are clashing with my bass, it's a whole thing, but the ideas are there and it sounds pretty cool. First, let's go and check out the brand new Pro R2. And as you can see over here, I'm using a demo version. I don't even own this one. All right, so the first step I want to go through over here is going to be the presets. Not taking too long here. Ambience, small, medium, large, very large, all pretty simple stuff. And for me personally, this is not usually where I like to reside with my reverbs. Medium, small, and ambience, gonna be more for like drums or mixing purposes, not really for creative options. So going over here, we can go on down to the large and very large. We can get a bit more creative. A lot of presence there. Whole 7.3 over here. So if I hit stop, and you can see in the representation over here as well, it takes a lot longer to drag out. Moving on to the very large now. This is going to be your very dramatic effects. Black hole I remember being a very dramatic effect over here. Some of the presets are returning from the original Pro R here as well. Eternity as well. The whole 20 seconds on the decay rate. But for right now, we'll be done with that one, muting it, and then going on over to go get Shaperbox 3. So for the presets here, everything's going to be for Shaperbox 3 as a whole. So in place of that, we'll be cycling through the different reverbs offered over here. Smooth Hall sounds pretty good. Smooth Hall 2 is even better. A lot of different options and categories over here as well. Oh, this is really good. The one that I found recently was actually going to be this section over here, the sustained, and we'll go to like the vortex, see how much of a difference that is, and you can clearly hear it as well. Pure white and pure pink are basically just infinite. The one thing I really do enjoy about the reverbs offered over here is that there's a lot of textured ones and things that are very different. There's one over here, I just need to find it. Here it is. Okay, it's going to be the zap back, and you can see that it's clearly different than anything else we've shown so far. It's very unique. We can already start to see a bit of a theme between the two different plugins over here. One's going to be a very high quality industry standard reverb that's very simple and easy to use. And the other plugin, Reverbshaper, is going to be something that's pushing the boundaries in how you think about reverb, but definitely don't have as many settings to really dial in exactly what you want. So don't want to take up too much time there on the presets, so now I can go back on over to the Pro R2, and I think it's time that we go over some of the features. And let's go into a basic one over here. I do like what they did with the pre-delay over here from the previous model. It's in a much more prominent spot as opposed to being down over here. Pre-delay to me is one of the most important knobs for when it comes to mixing and not having your reverb clash with the original melody. So for a dramatic effect over here, if I put it to 500 milliseconds, hit play, you can really hear how delayed it is. Okay, now for the character knob over here. It's going to be bringing life to the reverb and in various ways. For example, turning that knob up will start to introduce modulation and very clear early reflections and even late echoes as well. And turning up to the extreme effects over here can add a more chorus-like effect, especially on vocals. Now the thickness knob over here is a new feature that I have quickly grown to love, which as you can see in the corner over there, it adds an intuitive combination of density and saturation to the reverb sound. So in very non-technical terms, increasing that will make the reverb sound more full. And then distance over here is going to emulate sounding very close to the subject, or then sounding very far away. It's the distance. All right, now for the last part over here, this is something very new. You can change from a modern reverb to vintage and plate. All right, now let's put that to the test. I love the vintage one over here. This with headphones, it sounds really nice. And there we've already made some pretty dramatic changes to our sound. But we are nowhere near done. So let's jump over the space knob over here, come back to that later, go onto this section right here. So over here, we'll start to introduce high-end frequency absorption. This is what would happen in more realistic cases like in a room or a warehouse or anything like that. But when going the opposite way, you can start to introduce more high-end frequency, which helps add a lot of presence to your sound and your reverb. So that's definitely where I'm going to stick around over here. All right, and the stereo width over here at 0 is going to make it a more mono sound, or you can help separate that. And the ducking knob over here is going to be a new feature, which as we can see right there, it's a fast and easy way to get better separation between wet and dry signals. So basically, if you're having trouble with your reverb clashing with your dry signal, increasing that one could help out. And then this is your mix knob. Everybody should know what a mix knob does. Okay, now 2 more things that I did not go over are going to be the auto gate. That's going to be more for drums, so we'll go over that in just a little bit. The freeze option over here is what I really want to go over. So when I hit play, and right when I hit freeze, I can hit play, and it will just keep on going forever with the original sound that was playing when I hit freeze. Being able to freeze the reverb here is a very cool feature, and I'm very glad they introduced it with the Pro R2. You can use it pretty creatively over here by making it sound more like atmosphere in the background, or for a transition to be pretty cool. All right, now backtracking a bit to the space section over here, which this knob right here is going to be the most important part of this plugin. So the more that you increase this, the decay rate over here, the larger the decay rate number is going to be how long it takes the reverb to actually drown out, which we can exaggerate or take away by using the decay rate right here. Going up to 400%, the longest that we can have is 40 seconds. And then we can take it away by going in negative direction over here. So the shortest that we can get is 0.05 seconds. All right, so that's going to be all the knobs over here. Going down below, we can see 2 different bands. One over here saying the decay rate EQ is the blue one, and then the bottom orange one's going to be the post EQ. So if I increase this over here, all the frequencies in this range will be increased by a certain amount. All the same going over here and decreasing in the low end, those frequencies will die out a lot quicker. Let's go and change that up a little bit over here, a little bit less dramatic. Now for this orange line over here, this is going to be your basic reverb EQ. So say that you're using a sample with a lot of low end and you don't want that to be taken into effect. Now you can actually get rid of it altogether by going like that. Add some more brightness. Shape it up a little bit. One thing I am liking to play around with that I'm not used to is actually decreasing the brightness and really increasing the thickness over here. You still get that very full sound without it being too bright, with more darker tones. All right, so that's going to be all the major and minor features and how you can change up your reverb. We could go over more of like the MIDI learn. I never really play around with that sort of deal. So now we can just close this on out and move on over to Shaperbox 3. All right, so the first thing that I noticed over here is that there's significantly less controls, but that doesn't mean that we can't change this reverb in a very major way. So basically all that we can really do after choosing our reverb is going to be the decay, so we can shorten it over here, which you can see it actually taking effect over there too. Pretty cool. So I'm going to be decreasing the decay rate. We can change up the size over here and the width. What makes this one here pushing the boundaries of what reverb can really do is going to be what Shaperbox and Cableguys are famous for over here. They're LFO tools. So you can do something more like a swell like this one. It's going to raise up the wet mix. We have some different presets that we can choose. We can go even a bit further over here by going to the envelope and doing a few things that Pro R does as well. Like in Pro R, we had the ducking knob, but over here it's going to be a set of different features. So whenever our original signal plays, we can change up this, and it'll actually be lowering the reverb. A bit more dramatic like that. Okay, so once I hit stop over here, you can really hear it start to swell back up. See how it's going to go back up like that? Alright, so we've gone over the melody side of things, but now let's try and go over something more like drums. Okay, starting with Pro R over here, one thing we did not go over is going to be the lock button over here. So going in milliseconds for the pre-delay is going to be free, but Pro R actually syncs up with our DAW's tempo to go to like 1/4 notes, 1/8, 1/16, and 1/32. This is more like creative for like drums and stuff like that, but we're going to give it a try. Let's try 1/16 and then kind of decrease the space. That's already a very sick effect. That is so sick already. I love that effect. All right, so the auto gate over here, best way to explain it is that at 1 second over here, you can't really hear a whole big difference, but then decreasing it, you can really start to hear the reverb get a bit shorter. A bit more snappy, right? Which actually, for this case, sounds pretty sick too. And similar to the pre-delay over here, we can also change that from free to tempo synced, but I'm gonna keep that at free. That sounds pretty cool. And once again, you can also freeze it. Whoa. That is so sick. I just did that randomly. I did not think that was actually going to make that effect, but that is so sick. I think once if I turn off the auto gate, yeah, if I turn off the auto gate, it will keep on going forever. We don't want that. The auto gate feature can help control that a bit more. So a very unexpected, amazing way to use this plugin. We can go and move on to Shaper Box 3 with Reverbshaper. We'll have some rhythm, clear trails, and gated. That's pretty sick. So I'm going to have the decay at 100% and a pretty decent sized reverb. Let's go back to big time over here. We're going to use that one. And I want to hit on the snare. And you can create some pretty unique patterns yourself here. I still love this effect over here. Okay, so that's going to be all the tests that I've got for here today. And now it's time to go over our final thoughts here on both the plugins. So once again, the point of these plugin battles is not to bash any one plugin or to even choose a winner. The whole purpose behind it is going to be giving you guys the facts on what each plugin can offer you and what you can expect from it by showing you guys the features and the real world applications so you guys can decide on which one's best for you. And honestly here, I really can't talk smack on either one. It's basically going to be what your needs are. On one hand, you've got the very pricey industry standard reverb that really is very difficult to beat when it comes to sound quality. And then on the other hand, you've got something that's a little bit less finely tuned, less settings, but is really pushing the boundaries on what you can really do with reverb. So it's between creativity and quality. That's the way that I see it. I've been very unbiased this entire way through, but if you do decide to go pick up Shaper Box 3 and the Reverbshaper, I do have a link down below. It is going to be a referral link if you want to go pick that up. But that being said, if you don't want to go pick up Shaper Box 3, that's fine. If you chose Pro R2, albeit. I just fully believe in both of these plugins here and want to showcase them head to head. So let me know down below if you guys are picking up any certain one, if you think the one's better, any other plugin battles you want me to do. I would love to get to them in the future.